Okay, Adam, before we get started, I just want to remind you that this is completely fictional. You can make up your answers, and it's going to be graded for my addictions counseling course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I want to thank you for coming in today.
Okay.
I know it may not have been easy for you to show up, so I want to thank you again for
Yeah.
being here.
Sure.
Is there anything that I can do for you to make you feel more comfortable before we get started? Glass of water, maybe a pillow.
You can pass me that pillow over there, sure.
Okay. There you go.
Thanks.
Adam, are you familiar with what confidentiality means?
No, not really. I don't think so.
Okay, so anything that you say to me during this counseling session is going to be kept between us. I'm not going to go share it with anyone who knows you or
Okay.
any of my coworkers or anything like that. It'll just be between the two of us.
Sure.
The only exception to that would be if you told me that you were planning on harming yourself or if you were planning on harming someone else. In either of those events, I would have to pass the information along just to make sure that everyone is safe.
Okay, sure.
All right. Lastly, before we kind of deep dive into things, I want to ask you if it's okay if I take some notes. This would be so that we could kind of track together what we've discussed, and that next time you come in, if there is a next time, we can kind of pick up right where we left off, and I can review before we meet again.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So what is it that you wanted to come in and talk about?
Lately some friends and family have been telling me my drinking is becoming a problem, so they kind of been nudging me to come in here. I don't really think it's an issue, but, you know, I want to come here just to make them happy, I guess.
Okay. So you've been drinking alcohol,
Yes, yeah.
and kind of in excessive amounts to the people who care about you.
Yes, I suppose so, yeah. According to them.
Okay. Do you agree with their concerns?
Not really.
You don't see it as a problem?
No. I don't think so.
Okay. I'm wondering if you could maybe tell me about a time where your drinking had a negative impact on either yourself or someone important to you, or a stranger. Just a situation where the fact that you were drinking ended badly.
Time when it ended badly?
Yeah.
I think a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe. I
Go
was
on.
babysitting my sister, and she got upset after that. That one time. So.
Okay, so what upset her about the fact that you were drinking that night?
Well, I was babysitting my nephew, and he normally goes to bed at like 7 o'clock. So I brought over a 6-pack to kill the night once he was asleep. So anyway, I guess I drank him all the way too fast. I passed out before his bedtime. And
Okay.
I didn't get to sleep in time.
So what I'm hearing is that you were babysitting for your sister. It was her nephew that you were babysitting for. You thought that he was going to go to sleep early, so you brought a couple drinks with you to have just to make the night go by. But it turned out that he didn't go to bed on time, and then you had passed out and weren't able to provide him the care that she was hoping you would.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
How'd that make you feel?
Pretty shitty.
So you felt bad about the consequences in that situation.
Yeah, like I'm his uncle, I should take care of him, you know.
Well, it's great that you can recognize that now. Okay, so in that instance at least, you can kind of see that there has been a problem with your drinking.
I guess so.
Okay, so in terms of our counseling sessions, what would be an ideal situation for you, or kind of like what would you be hoping to get out of these sessions? I know you said your family doesn't really like the fact that you're drinking, so maybe you're kind of here.
Just to make them happy, I guess. Maybe there could be a couple things I could do.
Okay.
Fine.
So let's talk about that a little further. Let's continue on with this. We're making some really great progress up to now. Could you give me some positives about drinking? Some of your favorite things about drinking alcohol?
It's just a real nice way to relax after a long day, you know. It takes the edge off and the stress from work and all the bullshit drama at work and stuff like that, so, you know.
Okay. So you enjoy drinking because it kind of takes the pressure off. It's a way to let loose after work. It's a good pastime to socialize with others.
Socializing, yeah, that's good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do most of the other people in your life drink alcohol as well?
My best friend does, yeah.
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 Okay. Now, kind of a similar idea question, but the opposite. Is there anything negative about drinking that you can identify already?
Negative?
Yeah. So things that aren't good about drinking, or things that are causing problems because you're drinking.
Sometimes I show up hungover to work.
Okay.
You know, so that's never good. And
You can take a minute if you
Yeah.
need and have a drink there.
negatives. It's not cheap, I guess.
Yeah, it is an expensive habit to have.
Yeah. I feel like there could be so much more I could be doing with the money.
So a reason that you don't necessarily like your drinking habit is because it's expensive, and you feel like maybe your time could be used a little differently, a little more wisely,
Yeah.
and it's becoming an issue with work.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay, so what would be some alternatives? What are some other activities that you enjoy? Some of your hobbies?
Like playing some video games with friends and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always fun. Because I don't get to talk to them very much lately. But I don't know. I like to snowboard in the wintertime.
That's great.
Hopefully it's a good season this year. I have a mountain bike too, but I don't use that very much, so you know. I need to do a tune-up on it.
Okay.
So hopefully I'll get back into that maybe in the spring.
Okay. So that's a couple good hobbies. So what I'm hearing you saying is that you enjoy playing video games with your friends, and you haven't really seen them as much as you'd like to lately.
Yeah.
You also enjoy hiking, and you enjoy snowboarding, and you have a mountain bike, and although you haven't been using it a lot lately, it is something you kind of want to get back into.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of those activities, it seems like you can do without alcohol, and they're ideas that you came up with yourself of things that you enjoy. So I think that's really great that you have some other activities in your life. You know, you're kind of keeping yourself busy in other ways as well. Have you ever tried to quit drinking before? Was there ever another time that you found your drinking was too much and you tried to cut back?
Yeah, one time.
Could you tell me a little bit more about it?
It was like 6 months ago maybe. I started going to AA meetings.
Okay, that's great. How did you find it?
It's really weird to be honest. It's really like a religious push.
Okay.
And that just kind of sketched me out, like, you know. And like the people who run it are just alcoholics as well, so like, what makes them any better than me? Ooh, they have God.
Okay.
Whatever.
So, if you were to try and maybe cut down your drinking again, you would prefer like a bit more structure, maybe from someone such as myself, like a counselor, who has a bit more tools and resources to help you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, could you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, so basically what you said to me is that you didn't enjoy Alcoholics Anonymous because you found there was a little bit too much focus on the spirituality side of it, and also that it was kind of a community-based ran program. So it was individuals who also have struggled with alcohol running it, and you would maybe prefer to have someone who has a bit more formal education on the topic helping you through treatment?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. So you have identified one situation really recently that drinking was a problem for you, that being when you were babysitting your nephew.
Yeah.
You have tried to quit drinking in the past. And lastly, you have been able to recognize some negative consequences, like it being too expensive and stuff like that.
Yeah. Too expensive, and I gained kind of a bit of weight too.
Okay, so that's another added factor then.
Yeah.
So I think you are recognizing some of the disadvantages to drinking, even though when you kind of first started here, you said that there wasn't really any problems. So I want to applaud you for recognizing some of the issues with drinking. Would you like to talk any further about potentially reducing your drinking?
Reducing?
Yeah, like, would you consider, in order to satisfy your family and friends, your finances, and your health, like, would you consider maybe cutting back on your drinking a bit?
Yeah, sure. Definitely.
Okay, that's great. That's amazing that even this early on that you're considering that. So let's kind of start to work through a plan together. First of all, I'd like to ask if you'd be comfortable meeting with me kind of like on a weekly basis.
Weekly basis?
Yeah.
So starting like this Thursday, every Thursday?
Sure. So yeah, we could do things on Thursdays if that was a time that worked for you.
Can we do it like not next Thursday but the Thursday
Sure.
after?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that. So in that time between now and the next time we see each other, is there anything that you think you could do, even something very small, just to kind of get your brain starting to think about the idea of changing? I kind of want to prepare you before we kind of go full force into things.
Just like a small task or something?
Yeah, like a little thing that you could change in order to kind of decrease your drinking habits. I can offer a couple suggestions if you'd like.
Sure.
I do want you to pick it yourself though, that it is something that's realistic for you.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're someone who drinks like really, really strong drinks, you could try and, order like a single instead of a double. Or if you're drinking many nights a week, maybe you could commit to one night this week you're going to do something else that you enjoy instead.
Yeah, that's fair. I can do that.
That would work for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pick a day. What's a day that you normally go drinking?
Friday, I guess.
Fridays?
Yeah.
Okay, so next Friday.
Okay.
What is an activity that you love doing that you think that you would still be excited to do next Friday that doesn't involve drinking?
Well, me and the friends like to play pool sometimes,
Okay.
so I could probably just not drink when we go down there.
Okay, that's a great idea. So you are going to try and commit to not drinking on Friday night when you go play pool with your friends.
Yeah, maybe I could BDD or something.
Okay, that's an awesome idea, and then that will kind of hold you accountable to make sure that you weren't drinking while you were there because you'd be responsible to drive everyone else home.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great idea. So who do you think you'll be going out with that night?
Probably Evan, maybe Jeremy.
Okay, so between Evan and Jeremy, would you be comfortable sharing with either of those two that you've started coming to counseling and that you might want to make some changes in regards to your drinking, and do you think they would support you in that decision?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think they would understand, yeah.
Okay, so let's do a little bit of role play quickly between the two of us.
Okay.
I'm gonna be Evan and you be you.
Okay.
Hey, so let's go drinking Friday night.
How about I BDD? I don't think I'm gonna drink tonight. I had to work overtime this weekend, so I probably shouldn't. I have to be up early in the morning, so.
That's a great thing to say. You think that'd be reasonable for you? That's something you could commit to doing this weekend?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. I think that's amazing. I think it's really great. You thought of it yourself. It's reasonable, and I think you can do it. I really think you can. So I'm going to write that down for us, just so that next week we have it written in stone that it's going to happen. It's a change that you're going to make, at least for Friday night. Not necessarily all weekend, but one night you're going to commit to not drinking. You're going to be the DD.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. All right. So at this point, I would like potentially in the next few sessions for us to start doing some assessments together in regards to your drinking. So that would be, once we're a little more comfortable with each other, me asking you some direct questions about how often you're drinking, the quantities and stuff like that, so we can determine whether we kind of need to do a harm reduction type deal. So that would be more ways to reduce your drinking and ensure that you were drinking in what Canada considers like low risk drinking. And I have some guidelines that I can provide you for that. Or we may unfortunately find out that your drinking is a little bit too excessive, and then in that case we'll work on an abstinence-based program together. Okay. So I really want to thank you for coming in. I think even in the 15-20 minutes we've been talking, you've made some serious progress from not seeing issues with your drinking and only being here because your family told you to now where you're ready to kind of make some small changes in order to benefit not only them but yourself as well. I'm wondering if you have any questions for me before we close for the day.
Yeah, where do you keep your notes to? Like, does anyone else see those? Or?
That's a great question to ask. My notes will be locked away in my office in a filing cabinet. The only way that someone else would see them other than you and I would be if for some reason, let's say you were arrested and had to go to court, or if your your drinking continued at work. I know you were saying you don't feel great at work sometimes when you're drinking, so maybe it could be court ordered that you come to counseling, and we could show everyone that you've already been here and show them the progress you've been making. Other than any sort of circumstance like that, it's going to stay locked away unless I'm counseling you and I have it right here in my lap.
So unless like the cops or like need something for like an investigation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's going to be kept between the two of us. And if I were to release these notes to anyone else, you would know in advance.
Okay.
Is there any other questions that you have?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So we're going to meet not next Thursday, but the Thursday after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to print off those low risk drinking guidelines for you, and we will chat soon.
Sure.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks.